So I just woke up not so long ago. I made some coffee. So we're gonna have a talk here, guys. So brace yourself. If you don't like sad videos on serious, possible, triggering topics, I would highly recommend you leave this video and go watch something else. I have tons of videos on my channel that are lighthearted and happy. I do have the odd video that is not, however, and that is where I'm going to lead up to. So, I'll just give you guys a brief. So, I know the timeline of my channel, which is basically I am some girl who just started posting on the internet, showing you guys visual things that interest me as a person. And then about 2 years ago, I spontaneously had to share with you guys that I was on a medication journey and things were getting hard in my life. Now, before I get into this, I do not consider anybody who diagnoses me with issues on the internet. Any decent or right person, professional, is not going to diagnose a person based off of what they see on the internet, because any person who knows logic knows that there's more than what exists uh, in front of you on a video behind a person and their life. There's more depth. None of you guys really know anything about myself other than what you see and what judgment that you can place on that. And I'm a weird ass person. I'm very eccentric. So you can really like diagnose me with anything on the moon. Because like I have fun on here. Like people who've been watching me for a long time know I have a lot of fun trying different things, being trolly, and just all around edge lord, you know? Yeah. Um, I went through a lot of things in my life, just like anybody else who grows up. And when you grow up in front of people with digital tattoo, it's a lot different because like people like put want to put you towards certain directions in life and kind of tell you who you are. So I'm just gonna say completely openly, about 3 years ago, I was completely delusional to the person I was. And that's not a bad thing to say, because a lot of people are finding themselves, and some people are very old and they don't even know who the fuck they are. So it's something that just happens regardless. But I had a lot of issues because of the things that I had went through throughout my life. And I mean, for the most part, the age range for mental illness related things to come out more is like your late adults, or sorry, your late teens and your early adulthood. Like you start to notice mental illness coming out and stuff like that. It's just a common age range for a lot of people to find out about those types of things. So I kind of discovered that I had depression for as long as I could remember, and anxiety. But it was also around some other things, like I suffer from emetophobia, and it's not as bad as it used to be. I feel like I've coped very well with it growing up and understanding it and stuff like that. And that's the same with all of my other issues. I've grown old enough to learn how to cope with it, which was how I was in denial of having these kind of issues in the first place. Like if you're coping with something and you don't have a reason to complain in life, you don't tend to notice you have a problem in the first place. Like there's a lot of people out there who probably have issues. Like depression is very common, but the type of depression that I had always had was a lot different than that. It was not like a common, like, oh, a sad thing happened in life, I need to kind of revive my person throughout like this journey kind of ordeal. It was nothing like that. I mean yeah, like I lost my dad when I was like 17, and I've lost a lot of other people in my life, yeah. But I mean, it's the type of depression that I've always had was more like a clinical based depression, but I also had a lot of self-hate because of a lot of the things I went through in my life, like how I was raised, like being bullied and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I got bullied too. I'm a weird ass eccentric person. Like, it's kind of common among people who are like that when going to school. Um, so all this stuff, that's basically why a lot of the shit that people give me on the internet, like it doesn't phase me. Like when you get hurt where the heart is at, like, oh, shit does not hurt you the same way. um, but I'm also a very fair person, I like to think. So like people and their petty ain't going to affect me. Um, with all this said though, I went on a medication journey because things for me, they got really bad. And I more so was awakening to my full self around like 3 years ago. And from a conversation that I've had recently with a few like internet friends who I was a little bit closer with, I feel like people have this idea that I stopped growing or something like that. And like, no, that's not the case. Like, I didn't stop growing. A lot of people can even see like I'd always been growing, and it's exactly that. I just stopped sharing a lot of things that are really hard to share and very complex and deep thoughts. Deep thoughts that not everybody is always going to understand. So, having to conversate thoughts like this has been a lot more difficult since, like, I mean, as I grow older, I like to kind of take responsibility for things and try to assert thought in a way that more people can understand in a clear kind of way. Like I having anxiety, I've had social anxiety, so I didn't talk for a good portion of the beginning of my channel, and when I did, it was just things that I could feel confident about to make it easier on myself. So I never really went in depth on my person because it was not my place to have conversation in and be understood, because I could not really conversate very well. I will completely openly say, like, I would have a time trying to just explain some of the most simple things because I was very introverted in that emotional aspect. I was raised in that sense to be emotionally hard instead of really open about how I felt, because I was not really emotionally comforted for most of my life. I was always told to suck it up and all of these things. So it started to affect me in my teens as I got more cold, and I mean started running from my emotions, because I mean, what are you gonna do? You're a sad person. Okay, well, good for you. Like, everybody's sad. Go about your life. And that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. I didn't want to complain about being sad or anything like that. Like, why would you want to do that? People don't want that. They want people who are positive. So I coped with how I knew how to cope. How everybody around you tells you how to cope. Be fucking happy. So I was fucking happy. I am still pretty fucking happy. I'm actually honestly the happiest I've been in my life, but I'll get into that. I had to go on this medication journey because like I was using cannabis for coping with a lot of my issues. It was my coping tool to help me with my anxiety and depression. So trying out medication was kind of the next step. Like I was I tried talking to a therapist. I actually ended up doing more self-therapy because the therapists that I had spoken to, most of them would go off topic, not really give me anything that was helpful for tools or anything like that, more than I already was aware of, because I'm someone who's always had like a keen interest in psychology. I'm actually taking psychology. Um, so I basically I went on my medication journey. I took about like 8 pills, and I'll share like my pill experience if in a separate video, because that's another long thought. But I ended up kind of going mad from the medication, and then I was like, for 2 years with all the content that I posted, I was half there. Like, I was not my same creative self. If anybody who's taken medication, a lot of people will know that medication, it really makes you like numb to a lot of issues, and that's exactly that. You're supposed to be that way so you can cope and learn how to manage with your problems when you're not medicated. Or like, some people, they have cases that are so severe that like they have to take medication in order to function in society. For me, my depression was just getting so bad that I couldn't I couldn't think normally. My brain, it was taken over by depression, and I was in denial of myself and a lot of extra things that I never had a problem with. Everything just started affecting me all at once. And that's kind of what happens when you have a negative mindset around yourself for so long, and it's been learned, and you're taught not to emotionally care for yourself and stuff like that. So it affected a lot of my relationships in my life, my friendships, my family relationships, up until 3 years ago when I started realizing these things and getting help. And then that's when 2 years ago I started the medication and decided maybe this is something I should actually try. Also, because like, my mom was not all for me smoking medicinal cannabis. Now, there's also some other stories I can share in there too, like how I got my mom to understand medicinal cannabis was right for me and stuff like that. I ended up, after medication messed me up, this is when I last updated you on my mental health journey. I was on an antipsychotic, and it seemed to just set my brain where it should have been before the medication. I don't, I can't even completely understand what the fuck medication did to my head. Like, I just know it's kind of sad to me watching some of my old videos, seeing how I was, because I was really not okay. I was coping. Like, it's not like I was being fake happy or anything like that. Like, that was how I coped. All you can really do is make the most with what's up and be appreciative and happy with what's around you, and that's all I did. Was my YouTube channel was a huge coping mechanism, and it was a huge like way for me to share some passions and things that I love with you guys, which I've like been super thankful that you guys are here. So like, I feel really fucking bad that I've been stalling this video, but it's just, thinking of coming into this topic is honestly very draining. Like, talking about a lot of these things is not, it's not easy, where people can talk about these topics so easily. A lot of the time it's because like they've overcame things, or because they're using it as emotional manipulation to manipulate their audience to be relatable. Like, that's a very common thing on YouTube, and I'm not going to shy away from that thought, and I'm going to completely openly say I'm not somebody who came on here to emotionally manipulate people. I mean, like, my trolley content is just it's just trolling content. I mean, like, but I'm not like, trying to insinuate my characters a specific way. Not that I have anything against like people who are role-playing characters and stuff like that, because that's, I mean, that's cool. Like, everybody has their own thing that they like to do on the internet. Like, that's completely fine. But like, when you're you're trying to articulate yourself as being a real person, and you're not being very real, like, oh my god, that frustrates me. I hate that so much. I had extra depression that was added on top of the medication journey and why the depression got so bad. I mean, I realized I was not doing what I wanted in life, and I was not who I wanted to be in life. And that was a part of the spiritual journey. I mean, a lot of people have a spiritual awakening in that kind of sense. It sounds super like hippy dippy, but I mean, like, that's really what it is, like realizing your place in reality and what you want to do with yourself. And like, I left off on a lot of thoughts the past couple years of, oh, I'm thinking of what I want to do with myself, where I want to take my channel, what I want to do with things. And the past year, since I got signed, because if you guys missed that video, I got signed by an independent production company that's international, so I'm now signed talent, and I got a better view of industry and direction and endless possibilities. And so the past year, I've sat in a lot of planning, a lot of education, a lot of thought. Like, through this whole thing, I have not left education. I suffered with math anxiety that I completely overcame. And I fucking love math again. And I'm great at it again. After 5 years working on math and wondering how the fuck am I supposed to get through this math anxiety? Like, if you don't know what math anxiety is like, just imagine yourself going to approach reading a book, and then all of a sudden your head freezes. And no matter what you do, no matter how hard you focus, you cannot articulate anything that's in front of you. And it has nothing to do with you being stupid, you needing a tutor or extra help or somebody to help you. But it's just something in your mind, trauma, whatever, is affecting how you go about intaking information. And I was trying to sort out this problem that I had for the last 5 years. So I had been taking math in so many different ways, and I finally had came across an online school that is hosted out of Kitsilano, Vancouver, and it was literally the best experience of my life, because I did not have to suffer with trying to just read a question and cry in the middle of college. Like, I could get through math sometimes in a certain mind state I learned, and then other times, like, just normally trying to approach it, I would have some issues and I would just not be able to focus and all of these things. And I mean, like, oh, I question everything under the sun before I even like was like, this is math anxiety. Like, I was like, do I have ADD? Do I have like this? Do I have that? Oh, and so like I was getting extra depression and anxiety on top of this issue that I had. So my head kind of suicided, because I was like self-hating, like, oh my gosh, like, I can't do this, like, I used to be so good at this, I don't know what happened to me, like, did trying recreational things in a point of life like affect my brain? Like, I questioned so many things. And I mean, none of that did really affect my brain, because let's be real, there's nothing wrong with anything else that I do in life. The way I articulate things is completely great. The way I go about things is fine. Like, I don't have any issues. I'm a completely logical, rational person. I like to think, at least. I can hold a conversation. I can debate people. I can care for emotions. Like, I care too much sometimes about other people's emotions. That was a problem I once had. I had to remember that it's not my problem, you know? Like, that was me probably like 4 or 5 years ago. But I kind of yeah, it just hit me really hard, and I was just really hard on myself to where, like, I cut out everything in my life. I was not doing any art, which is something that's my passion, and I just focused on math. Like, I tortured myself with math because I really wanted to get that math out of the way, because it had been something that's been holding me back from areas of education that I've always wanted to stick my head in and just kind of see if I like stuff. Because, like, I had been, like, on a journey of, like, figuring out what the fuck I wanted to do with myself. And, like, yes, I did find out what the fuck I want to do with myself. And on that note is kind of where, like, that's where I've been just working on things lately, and things have been fucking amazing. Like, I don't have the same worries anymore. I'm done with math right now. I'm gonna leave math for a while since I've been torturing myself with it for a few years. And I finally finished that one math course that I needed to adult graduate, because, like, I didn't do math for a few years after the actual trauma happened. I can go in depth about my math anxiety story in another video. I thought about actually writing a book on it because it was a really interesting experience that I had. And there was a lot to it that I learned as well about myself that I never expected. Like, I would have never expected that it was a scenario of trauma around math itself until, I mean, like, I really did notice the trauma part, because, like, I mean, the thought always came into my mind, but I mean, I dismissed it thinking, like, oh, it's not going to affect me. It wasn't anything like that. But I had a really deep relationship around math with my dad, and he would force me to do math and stuff like that. I mean, like, my dad, he passed away around 17, and I hadn't been taking math since I was like 16 in high school, before I went to alternative school, because I didn't want to take math in alternative school because they didn't have anybody to help me with the math level that I was at, because I was not doing, like, remedial lower level math. I was very, like, skilled in math. So it was really weird, like, as soon as I turned 19, so I had like a 3 year span without doing any kind of math in my life. And then I went right to college math, and I wanted to graduate there instead, because I wanted to go a lot further in sciences and chemistry, because like, I've always really, really had a huge passion in those areas. And which is where now my path is going to take a completely different turn. And, like, I was thinking, like, later in life, since, I mean, I have to recover from a lot of this trauma, and going down an art path, like, whilst I'm very lucky that I have talents that I've grown throughout my life out of coping with a lot of stuff that I went through. um I can always revisit academics later in my life. Like, I've been talking to some people in my life about that. I'm just like, would it be weird to go to university at like 40 or like your mid 30s? And people are like, no. But it's exactly that. Like, I definitely want to revisit some thoughts if the time is right, because, like, at this point I have direction in a completely different area where I feel like I can contribute to society now, instead of continuing more years of my life and not being here for you guys, and embracing all of these things that I've learned throughout my lifetime, which are some of the little talents that you see come out on my channel that I've kind of poorly asserted other than just a visual note. Because, like, I mean, I didn't really have very good conversational skills or confidence to really be like, oh, I have 10 years experience in doing hair. And shit like that. Just, I always doubted myself because of people saying things and stuff like that. So where people like to think like comments and stuff like that and what people say doesn't affect people, well, fuck you, because it honestly does affect people, especially if they're young and they don't know who the hell they are. Like, that's why people commit suicide who are young and they're bullied and stuff like that on the internet. Like, it's like like, I understand, like, yeah, you can turn it off and whatnot, but like for some people, like, their network of friends and stuff like that is on the internet. I mean, like, I wasn't someone who was like that. Like, I've always had friends in reality too. I mean, now I don't have anybody that's really close to me in reality, but I don't really care to, because I'm so focused on a lot of the stuff I want to do with myself. But I went through like an interesting time, that was for sure. I was just posting things that were making me happy, really, in summarization. Stuff that was really easy to do, that didn't take much thinking, because I couldn't think very much either. I was still taking school too, which was really interesting, but I'd never wanted to give up on anything. I was always educating towards making things better. Like, you guys have noticed, my content has gotten a lot better, minus the fact that I've been filming with potato camera, but I mean, there's a lot of reason behind that. I shipped my equipment out to California, so I mean, it's there waiting for me when I can get out there, because I had been trying to travel out there. So like, this was what made this year hard for me too. Like, I had to learn things around traveling to the US, and like, I was not aware that you have to have a lot of money in order to go for like 4 months, unless you have like a work visa or something like that, or family, which I don't have in the States. So I got denied twice, so I'm finding another way, and I'll update you guys on that thought when things move forwards. But I can visit the US for just shorter time frames. It's just me being someone who might quite possibly want to like relocate to a different area. I wanted to kind of explore places longer, so I wanted to stay longer and stay at friends' places, and that's just not plausible for customs people. Like, you have to have money to know that you're not going to be homeless, which is, I mean, that's fair. So I mean, I will be traveling into the States sometime soon. Hoping to plan a trip, maybe to Seattle, maybe to collaborate with some people. um what else was I gonna say? But yeah, I've basically been just doing a lot of boring adulting stuff to finalize some thought of things that I can finally move forwards with, that I've always wanted to do for a very long time. I just never really expected it would be now. Honestly, I don't really see why either. Too, I don't even understand why I never started certain things a long time ago. But the more I think about it, it's just my self-esteem. I just needed to own myself a lot better, really, and be sure of what I'm doing is what I want and is aligned with my goals in life in a way that contributes to society and makes me feel satisfied. And I tried a lot of different things already. Like, I've had so many jobs in the past. Well, I was someone who started working as soon as I could work at like 13. I had a paper route, and I've had lots of jobs in between there ever since. So I've explored a lot of different mediums of art, you can say. Uh, that kind of brought me to this point now where I know what I want to do. So it's just a matter of unfolding these things with you guys because a lot of these past things that I did, I mean, I never shared with you guys because it was not anything related to here. A lot of people who post content on YouTube don't actually share what they do for a living. Like, that's not new news. Like, some people have other jobs beside it, and they would want to respect the jobs that they have and the businesses they work with instead of having possible ambushes of people being like, oh, hey, I know you on YouTube and stuff like that. Like, it's just, for me, it was always a respect thing to, like, not share certain things and whatnot. Because I know, like, especially with me on the audience, or me and my audience, like, I know there's a lot of awesome people out here who watch me, but I know that there's a lot of people who hate me for no reason but their own problems. So they gotta just like harass somebody and make their life miserable because, like, oh, do I have some stories to share with you guys from people who are special. I've had some weird experiences as someone who's on the internet throughout my life. Like, I've been here for like, what, 8 years? Holy shit. I feel old. There's so much fresh meat on here. What am I? I am dusty. I am so insignificant and irrelevant. Not to say that that's something that bugs me, because it doesn't. Like, I've been posting what interests me as a person, and for the most part things that take minimal effort, because like I'd been putting more effort into myself and what I want for myself and learning things. But like YouTube kind of just came along the way and sharing little bits with you guys. So on that note, there's a lot that's going to come here, guys. I'm just getting started. And I love how I said that like a year ago when I got signed to. Just getting started, guys, because it really is. Like, I've been posting like very scatteredly, unorganized and stuff like that, and I am working on like organizing all of the topics that I like to post frequently in like different episodes, and been naming different series to better refine my content. And I've been working on like branding and all these really cool things beside the thought of merchandise, you know. Like, I'd been kind of like bringing that up the past year on my channel, like, ooh, going to make some merch and stuff like that. But I don't want to have just like basic merchandise, because like, I'm not a very basic person. I mean, I woke up, okay, so I'm just like cold as fuck, and like I have like a scuba hoodie like zipped up to the top, and like I'm just like, ugh. I actually just had an Instagram stream, and I was talking with one of my friends on there. I like I'm my you now. It hasn't been functional on mobile for me for a while. I have to message tech support, and uh yeah, so I just decided to stream on Instagram and hang out in bed as I force myself to get up. I even have crap to share on my relationship situation. Oh my gosh. I'll leave that to another video though, but I just wanted to like leave you guys with a thought that is, I'm surprised that I actually didn't cry through this, but I didn't see, like, I filmed this so many times. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I filmed this probably like 8 times or more, and it was really messy and it was so everywhere. And I think it's just now, because I filmed it so many times, I can better place the thought to get you guys to know, like, everything is okay. I'm great. Like, I've been reorganizing my hoards and stuff like that. Cause I'm home all the time now. I'm back working on the stuff that I love, because I mean, I'm not going through that same struggle I was for 5 years. That was really, it really was affecting me though. Like, my whole math shit. Like, that's how badly I wanted it. Like, I am living evidence that if you fucking suck at something or have anxiety or trauma around like going to school or just learning a specific thing, like, you can achieve anything you fucking set your mind to. Like, if you just keep trying, you can do it. Like, I believe you can, because I did. And I feel really good about that, honestly. I've been so proud of myself though. Like, and I'm just really excited now to go forwards with things now that I've always wanted to. I make a lot more content past this thought. Oh my goodness. This thought that has been procrastinated for so long and now is dragging on to a 40-minute video. I think I'm just not gonna edit this, and I'm gonna post it with all its silences and everything. But on that note, on mental health though, I still don't really know if I have any real problem that I need to go like get a proper diagnosis for. I am gonna continue my journey. Oh, my armpit is so itchy. Ugh. I am gonna continue my journey through therapy and stuff like that when I relocate. It's just in my area right now. They want the wrong things for me. And a lot of people who've went through like doctors and stuff like that on this kind of journey can understand the same experience. Like, you have to kind of go to different doctors until you find that one that you feel like is aligned with your thought and what you need. And right now, the doctors that I have are kind of just visually judging me, thinking that I'm just running away from my problems. But I've been well coping with them and learning about them to a very deep extent. So, like, I know well to take care of myself in moments when depression is hard, and not to be mean to myself through anxiety moments. Like, learning to become friends with yourself is the best thing you can do for yourself if you're somebody who suffers with like self-hate and depression. It's something that will take a lot of time for sure. It didn't happen for me all at once. It happened over the course of more than 3 years. So, but I definitely can say that it's possible to become the person that you can be proud of, and that you don't feel the need to be over harsh with. Because yeah, I'd always been very harsh with myself. I'm a perfectionist, but I've always coped with that thought. I think a lot of people who are artists are perfectionists as well too. And some people cope with it differently than others, but like with my perfectionism, I used to be hella petty at a really young age and shit like that too. But I also have a plan of talking about this thought in a separate video. But a lot of those things they build up and then they affect you in that kind of sense. And that kind of led to my thoughts of being like butthurt about things like my quality and like just sharing my thoughts over the past couple years more intensely, you could really say. But I mean that just because I say those things, it doesn't mean that, oh, I am affected by those things, or else I would not be talking to you right now on a motherfucking potato, man. Looking kind of like a potato, man. My tummy is growling, man. Man. I think I've said enough here. But I just wanted to, I think I already said this, but I'm going to say this again. I just made this video because I'm hoping like these thoughts can help some of you guys like know that if you don't know where you're going, it's okay to just find a place that feels right and just go with it. Try different things. You don't have to have a sure mind early in, and like don't be hard on yourself if you can't do something yet or are struggling with something, because like if you work on it and be kind to yourself along the way, you'll be able to get through it. You don't have to share all of these things while you're going through it either. Like I never did. I mean, like if I were to talk about all of this while I was going through it, it would have made absolutely no sense because I'm still trying to learn it, right? So you don't have to be able to explain anything at this point. You just need to know yourself and what you need to work on in life to get you to where you want to be the best you can be. And I think that's probably like the best kind of life goal to have in my mind, is be the best version of yourself you can be. Because you know, there's a lot of shit in the world, so contributing your best self just makes the shit in the world a little bit better for coexistence and all of those things. So I love the living hell of you guys though. Thank you so much for those of you guys out there who have really cared along the way and stuff like that. A lot of you guys saying all the positive things that you had really did help like propel me towards this journey, and not just stopping on something in life and just letting that become my life, really. Like you guys are all really amazing, even though I've never like directly met a lot of you people, and it probably sounds really crazy to some people who are like, they don't really have internet friends or anything like that, but I mean, like most of my life was spent on here, and a lot of my real life friends and people I work with, not on the internet. I mean, like just in general, I met through the internet because I'm a keen conversationalist, I like to think. Ego boost. Ooh. But yeah, like the internet is a wonderful place if you make the most of it in that wonderful sense. It can be complete torture if you don't positively use its tools that it offers to you. But I'll just end this video here on this thought, since this is almost an hour of blabbing. And I will see you guys in my next video. Stay awesome as all hell, as cookies should motherfucking be.